Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. Another Monday here at Giga-Texas, and for the intro, I'm just going to cover a couple of things before we get into the video because there is a lot to see and I cover a lot of ground today. As far as Cybercab production, looks like they are still making small numbers of that new version, the glossy with the darker gold. In fact, with these images here, you can see that with kind of a cloudy day and diffuse lighting, that gold is much darker and noticeably so than what we would see with the previous versions with the wrap. Now, the interesting thing about these, about 15 or so over in the outbound lot, is that they appear to have steering wheels again. Now, this may be a modification to what they've done before with that engineering kit. Maybe it's a little bit more refined, but also it's just more for testing. Of course, we have been seeing a lot more of these showing up, not only here in Austin, but around the country, doing more testing as they prepare for not only production of the Cybercabs, but introduction into the robotaxi fleet. So something to keep watching for, and it's neat just to see all of these new versions with the different color and the gloss showing up in the outbound lot. Now, going all the way up to the far north side of Giga-Texas, I wanted to show you what is going on with the construction of the Optimus factory. Continued a lot of work on the foundations. We're seeing more of the excavation and gravel in the middle of the foundation, and that's sort of changing shape a little bit from just a regular plus. Now it's having some extensions on the east and south side. In addition to that, we see GeoPiers inside that pit now for the first time putting in piers. So it suggests that we may be seeing larger footings put into this particular part of the factory, maybe to support some heavier equipment, machinery, or maybe some sort of stations that require large robots installed into the foundation. But we've seen something similar a long time ago in the factory behind me. It was over where the body in white robots are now. Used to call it the zipper pit. It was a deeper pit with larger foundations, and to some extent it looks a lot like what we're seeing up at the Optimus factory now. Of course, there is more GeoPier work being done on the surface. A lot more of the footings have been completed with concrete, and more of the rebar cages are being built right now. We get a really good sense of how many footings there are going to be to support this structure, and also we get a chance to see that the spacing between the columns is narrower than it is here at the main factory. So that may indicate a few things, one of which is that they don't need quite as much open space in that factory for the production of the Optimus as they do with the production of vehicles in Giga-Texas. Could also be just a different design and structure. Of course, I don't know if we're going to be seeing an exact same copy as far as the construction technique of the walls and the roofing and the windows here at the main factory up at that Optimus factory, or if we're going to see something similar to what we saw out at Giga, Nevada with the semi factory, which is a little bit of a different construction technique. But I'll keep watching that and we'll see how that develops. There is a lot more to see in the video today, and we'll go ahead and talk about that as we fly. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Let's go flying. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. But for today, we're going to start off here at the very far north, looking back at most of the site. Of course, the Cortex 2 and the battery cathode plant on the right-hand side of the screen. But I want to put your attention to this field that we're flying over right now and where it is in location to the foundation for the Optimus robot factory. And what I'm really speculating is that at some point, maybe a second phase, they're going to extend this factory into that field. And we'll start here on the south end of the foundation. You can see that it's so far looking like it's squared off rather than that diamond shape. So that gives me a part of that reason why I think that it may continue to extend. But I'll keep watching this and we'll see what happens as this further develops. But a lot of excavation on the south end, as you can tell. They're starting to align this excavation with a lot of gravel and that broken up concrete. That's what we are seeing with all that gray material being brought in. And of course, many more of the footings, the rebar cages, and the concrete has been poured in a lot of these footings. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, one of the interesting design choices here is that the spacing between columns is smaller or more narrow than it is on the main factory. The other thing is that these large excavations where we are now starting to see GeoPiers, looks like they are doing the pier work on the edges. And as I showed you in the intro, this reminds me a little bit of that zipper pit that was done in where is now the body in white of the main factory. And we'll continue to see if that is what they do. If that's the case, then this could be a kind of a line where there's going to be either heavy machinery or robotic assemblers throughout this part of the factory. But you can also tell all the rest of the footings here on the graded surface and many more of them on the process of being excavated out and prepared for those rebar cages to be put in. As we kind of maneuver on the north end, we see that some of the GeoPiers are idle here today, at least at the moment that I was flying. This section here in the middle of the screen is where they have had some materials and some other trailers. It looks like that may be being cleared out to some degree right now. So we'll watch that to see. They're going to need staging for materials for the construction. So that may be what is going to be put in here and across this entire north section. We also can tell that this hill on the top end is not really growing much, although next to it there used to be some trees in the kind of defined area where the silt fence is. Those have been removed as well. As you fly over this green belt with all the trees, the hills, and the ponds, this is that old sand and gravel mining. We do see more of the dirt in between where there's like road access over to the Lone Tree Field. As I come back to the main foundation, you can see the diamond-shaped kind of cut off edges here at the north, very similar to the main Giga-Texas factory. Again, that's why I'm wondering if the south end may eventually be extended into that large field because of how it's looking. As I zoom in, this is a better look at the large excavations in the middle of the factory. You can see that some of them are growing to a little bit of extent away from just the basic plus. And of course, on the south end, there's a humongous amount of that excavation work at a lower level. And I zoom out, that gives you a really good view of how this is shaping up. And I'm going to bring the drone up to a much higher altitude to give you that bird's eye view of how the foundation is coming together and how that south end looks different than the north end. I'm going to also kind of maneuver the drone around and show you where, if they do extend the building, where it could go and how much more space there would be between the end of the foundation now and where the battery cathode plant and Cortex 2 is located. So that'll be something I will definitely keep watching and see if we have any permits as well. Now on this north end, where it used to be the rental equipment lot, you can tell that they are continuing to prepare this for more trailers and equipment and a refueling station with that red tank. And also some more of that recycling with the green bins and some of the materials that are being stockpiled up into those piles. This is the road that is being used to access where River Road extension work is underway. Eventually it will come through here, be widened, and extend into that Lone Tree Field. As I follow along towards where most of the Earthwork is underway now. We can tell that that pond that they built, that makeshift dam, is now completely drained of water. They are putting in geotextile membranes and then filling on top of that more of the dirt. And I expect them to be bringing a lot more of the dirt in to raise this grade all the way up. Now, the geotextile membranes is something that we've seen a lot here at Giga-Texas over the last 6 years under construction. This helps to strengthen and stabilize the soil. It also allows for drainage, and it makes it a much better surface for building structures, or in this case a road, than just putting it onto the fill dirt that is being brought in to reclaim the ponds that are again part of that old sand and gravel quarry operation that used to be in this entire area. More of the concrete is continuing to be crushed, with much more of the hill on the right. As we've seen, they are using a lot of that within the construction site for that Optimus factory. Of course, more of the rebar, steel, and other debris that was within the concrete is being stockpiled here as well for eventual recycling, moving it off the site, and then clearing all of this up for future construction. The refueling depot here is also now in operation. This was moved from the east side to make room for that advanced technology fab. We see some additional excavation work at the bottom of the screen as they get the debris for recycling and also prepare this whole grade for more work. As we get to the east side of the battery cathode plant and flying over those green transformers, I wanted to get a closer look at the fill work that is underway to extend River Road through this section. You can see a lot of the gray material has been brought up and where that road is generally going to go. Also, in the middle center of the screen, we're starting to see that large hill that used to be here for a long time is almost completely gone. There's just a little bit on the left-hand side of the screen. Also, we see active work now at the old maintenance facility for the cement or the concrete trucks. They're doing some more excavation work in where the dirt is probably contaminated, and they're loading it up on trucks to be removed from the site. This is what this work looks like here today. The structure on the upper left, they started to peel off a little of the roof, as you can see by the trees. So its days are probably coming to a close here very soon. Here's a good look at what used to be this large hill. Still more work to be done to remove dirt, but you can also get a good idea of where that road surface is going to proceed through this location. Also, much of the equipment that has been moved away, and every so often we'll see a drilling rig or two as they are continuing to do the soil test sampling for the foundation construction. The last video, we saw 6 of them in operation. Today, I think there's 1 or 2. Of course, this section here, eventually all of these workshops, materials, and equipment will have to be moved away. I think what they're doing right now, as I zoom in for a better shot, is that they're finishing up all of the fabrication work for the pipes that are being installed into Cortex 2 for the cooling system. And then once that work is completed, then they will dismantle all of these workshops. We do see some steel corrugated pipe being added in for drainage, a couple of the riser pipes too to promote that aeration to make sure that the water can flow. Some work is continuing with the pond, and we will see that here momentarily. But first, I wanted to fly over the workshops at the bottom of the screen, show you the recycle center, and just give you an idea of how it looks. This is going to have to be relocated, and it is important to do so. We also see in the bottom left, almost the center of the screen now, that there are Cybercabs. Good view here, zoomed in. Underneath those car covers and under pallets, those are all getting ready for recycling, and that is a good sign that those are coming out of the crash testing facility and they're no longer needed. So they're beginning that process of removing all of the engineering versions. Here's a great view of the wall that is being put in for the retention of this pond, and a look across to the multi-level parking garage and how this kind of all fits together. We do see some larger steel corrugated pipe and junctions on the left-hand side of the screen, plus the outflow underneath the road, and they are preparing to put more of the asphalt onto River Road up to this point, passing the intersection with Robotic Avenue. As I maneuver around, we can see some more of the black HDPE pipes on the ground, more of the concrete pipes on the right-hand side of Robotic Avenue, and this section that has had a lot of underground pipe work done just to the east of the parking garage. Now looking across back to the pond, we can see that the road on the right is not going to connect over to the fab, but the road on the bottom may, and if that's the case, that's another indication that the rendering that Tesla provided has had some changes in the building for that advanced technology fab has been moved slightly to the north from where it was originally on the render. This material staging yard is also becoming a contractor trailer location as they move more of those away from the east side. As we get over towards these temporary offices and Tesla security, we can also see that there is trench work just to the north of this road, and they're putting in electrical conduit. Of course, there's also some concrete vault items with manhole covers waiting for installation. On the south side of the parking garage is another one of these material staging yards, a lot of wooden crates at the bottom of the screen, which is probably production equipment, and then some other materials for building. On the south side of River Road, as I zoom in, you can see where they're putting that asphalt now to continue that south lane. Of course, the cooling system for Cortex 1. And as we look here next to the gantry crane, we see some more of the wooden crates with more production equipment, that workshop in the plastic, a lot of items along the wall, and most of the recycling bins here next to stamping have been moved away over probably to the recycling or the east warehouse and wheels. No Cybercabs coming out of the factory at the moment that I was flying, but later on we will see more in the outbound lot. Of course, this is the temporary cooling system and pipes for that thermoplastic injection molding process that is used to make the body panels for the Cybercab. As we continue to fly towards the north past the secondary entrance on the east side and all of these receiving doors, we can tell that there is still more of these crates next to the wall and other deliveries. And I believe that this is still related to something with the Cybercab on the inside of the factory. A lot more of the castings at the bottom of the screen. These are all Model Y castings. And as we continue to fly towards the north past the baghouse filtration plant, we'll see that the melt center is active, although a lot of the aluminum wheels have been melted down. And the pace that they are getting aluminum wheel deliveries and then having to have those replenished because they're almost gone gives us a really good idea of how many castings that they are making, some of which the Cybercabs are just kept on the inside of the building, so we won't really see those here on the outside. So I'm going to maneuver the drone around. We're going to go back to the east side and take a look at more of what is going on and preparing for that advanced technology chip fabrication structure. As we've gone across the East Warehouse on Wheels, I wanted to show you some more of the workshops that show signs of being prepared for removal. Of course, these have to be removed because this is right in the middle of where the advanced technology fab will be constructed. We also saw one of those soil test sampling rigs in work as we flew by. All of the trees, some of the debris are remaining to be removed, and this is also preparing for that construction. As we pass over where Tesla Road will be extended and some of the steel corrugated pipes here, we did notice that there is some activity next to the crash test facility. Of course, we have the crash test dummy new lab at the bottom of the screen, still getting some earthwork. More of the Cybercabs along the wall here of the crash test facility, and a crane in action, looking like it may be some heat exchangers, perhaps, that they are taking off of the truck. And we can also see some activity on the roof, which we will see here momentarily. The Tesla Semi, the refreshed one, is still here, and a few more of the Cybercabs, but a little bit less because we saw those over at the recycling yard. It looks like they may be preparing to do something with the wall here on the east side of the battery cathode plant. And of course, they're continuing to build in this ventilation system and ductwork on the roof. And this is a great view with some workers so you can get a good sense of scale. The chilling system on the bottom of the screen was replenished on my previous video. and it looks like it is in operation here today. As we fly over the die shop, I wanted to give you a quick update on what is going on here in the south end of Cortex 2. First off, there is some new excavation work, as you can tell. Looks like there's some pipes, possibly conduit being installed, and then of course the pipes that extend out of the building over to the temporary trailers for cooling, and the part one of the cooling system with 2 of the fans working today. We can also see that the part 2 of the cooling system is really starting to come along, with most of the fiber reinforced polymer beams and some of the wall decking installed now on the south end. As we fly over this workshop, we can see that there's some earthwork to clean up this middle section and all the trenching that has happened. At the secondary part of the cooling system, I wanted to maneuver here, look down, and show you what's going on with these bunkers next to the building. And they've been drained out of water, which is great, but there's still no pipes installed yet. And those will be part of what connects the cooling system to Cortex 2. Also, we don't see the openings for the fans yet on the roof, so it still has a little bit of altitude to go in its structure. As I fly over the north end of Cortex 2, I'll look over this tree field back to that construction site, give you an idea of where perhaps that building will extend into this tree section. On the north end, more of the materials are being stored here, some of which has come from that east side, and some of those fabrication workshops that we saw for some of the pipes and other materials. I did notice that there is some excavation work next to this doorway, and maybe they are reconfiguring the ramp and access points to this part of the site. Along the west side, a lot more work continues on preparing for the second half of the megapacks and the electrical systems to support them. The piers on the left, the scaffolding along the wall, more of the beams on the bottom of the screen, and the platforms being installed here, showing that they are working from the south to the north. And as they get to a certain point, they're bringing in those transformers and electrical boxes. And this is the original part that they finished, the part 1, and this is what is allowing Cortex 2 to be partially operational right now, and along with the part 1 of the cooling system and those temporary cooling trailers. Here's another view of the south end, some of the trench work that is underway with the workers. It gives you a sense of the scale as well. So I think it may be lighting, perhaps, that they are setting up. We'll have to watch and see if light poles show up or if it's another purpose. As I maneuver here around on the west side, you can see this temporary road. It's not really beautiful, but it does help with mud and keeps a lot of the equipment clean. And we also see that that road now extends with paving all the way up to the Optimus factory site. Here we see work continuing to assemble the 6th transformer. Also, the workers give you a sense of scale, and they're working on it looks like maybe a cable tray on the right-hand side of the screen. They have not made the connections yet on here on the south end for that transformer, so still some work remains for them to be able to connect that on and then finish up the testing so that it can be used. As we fly over more of these trailers that have been moved here, I wanted to show you the equipment and materials being stored here. Much of this is for the Cortex 2, the second part of the cooling system, and some of the interior flooring. As we fly over the power lines, I wanted to get a different look at the materials that are being stored here. This is more of the relocation from that east side. And a lot of this looks like it's scaffolding and parts for the platforms that they use for construction. And a couple of the containers at the south end as well, some materials too. As we fly up towards Tesla Road, I'm going to just sort of parallel the road, looking back at the main factory, show you the operations that are going on here with the casting racks for the Cybertrucks. And every once in a while we see the Cybertrucks coming here with a rack to fill up and take them in for more production. And I'm still waiting to find out or see any evidence of Cybertruck production increasing. We do see these cabinets being brought in. These have been stored over on the far southwest side. They're part of the 4680 production process, and it's good to see those now being moved inside as well. And I'll give you an update on the southwest side a little bit later in the video. As we fly toward the south on the west side of the main factory, I wanted to see what is going on with the recycling for the 4680 cans. Looks like they were probably just these bins emptied out recently, so there's really nothing to see there. As we pass that loading platform and some of the lunch trucks on the right-hand side of the screen, I did notice that Model Y production is underway today, even early in this morning. You can see a couple of them leaving the factory already, coming out of that exit point and then heading down towards the south. So I'm going to follow them along, sort of along this west side, and well, I guess we'll stop here first and look at the main entrance and how this is coming together with some of those tent shade structures and not really much of a display on the end of the flagpoles. So we're going to continue to the south, follow those vehicles, and take a look at the south end of the building since it's been a little while. I'll kind of peek around the south end where the emergency exit tunnels are and kind of that grassy berm area next to the cyber pond. And it's really nice with all of the green, all of the spring colors really coming back to the factory. And of course, you can see that the Colorado River is quite full, and a lot of the trees here are in full bloom. So a great view of the factory. We'll come back over on the west side and resume the flight, looking at the west warehouse on wheels, so the road and some of the materials, also the parking lot at the bottom of the screen that will help serve the test track. And today the big word on the test track is installation of stormwater pipe and drainage systems in trenches all around the location. In fact, there's been so much mud, so much dirt, so much work that some of the driving surfaces looks like they're being erased a little bit, but we will see those here soon. There are still some standing water around the site, so it can still dry out to some degree, but you can really get a good sense of how much of the drainage system is being installed right now. And with some of the outflows into the ponds, it looks like we are going to keep, at least to some degree, a couple of ponds here in the infield. As I maneuver around here on the west side, I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude and just try to give a good overall view of what the test track is looking like here today. On the left-hand side, we can still see some of that kind of piles of debris, some of that gray material that traces its all the way back to the caisson construction and the tunnel boring machines. What they're going to do with that, I don't know, but I would still like to see a off-road track for the Cybertrucks. And we'll see if that happens, but certainly all of these ponds are going to be retained, as you can tell that they're being used for drainage. More drainage being installed here on this part of the site, and also a good view of the material staging yard and Giga-Texas in the background. As I fly around at a lower altitude here, a good view of more of the drainage system on this east side of the track. Of course, that parking lot on the right with the risers for what I think will be lighting, and a good view here with a worker for sense of scale on the drainage system. So I'm going to maneuver around a little bit more here on the east, point back to the west, get a good view at a higher altitude of what the test track looks like today and all the work for that drainage system. And then I'm going to bring the drone down over the material staging to show you where those cabinets are coming from that were going into the north end of the factory. And here's several more. A yard truck is arriving, so maybe there'll be more moved to the 4680 cell portion of the factory. The supercharger workshop, it continues to be very busy. At the bottom of the screen, you see a lot of the platforms for those prefabricated superchargers and all of the materials for that. Once they are assembled, they can be moved to wherever they're going to be installed. As far as transformers here, it looks like they are slowly starting to move off-site. There's another one just been loaded up onto a truck. And we can see what the numbers look like today with some more of the equipment here. Where they are going, I don't know. It's a great question, but they are not staying on site for sure. Now, the outbound lot is pretty empty, but the big news today is more of the glossy and deeper gold Cybercabs, about 15 of them here. These particular ones seem to have steering wheels, so what we may be seeing is that they're using this with the opportunity of the production line coming up online to not have to do the wraps anymore, which will save a lot of time. Also be able to kind of work through the processes of that production line and have engineering test versions that can be moved around the country for more testing. We are starting to see more of these glossy deeper gold Cybercabs around multiple areas doing testing. And again, I think without having to do all the wrap now, they can relocate some of that effort to the production and also use this opportunity to work out any of the bugs or any other details that are needed for getting that production line ready to ramp up. I think it's too early. A lot of people ask, what is the production ramp rate right now? I think it's too early. We need a few more weeks and a little bit more I don't know, data points before we can come up with any type of conclusion. So that'll be it for today. I'll bring the drone up to a much higher altitude. We'll fly to the north, looking back to the southeast and many of the sites that we looked at today. I hope that you enjoyed everything that we were able to see in the video and also just some of the other information that we were able to talk about throughout today's video. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope that you have a great week coming up. And as always, thank you very much for your support. Take care.